Larry Page and Sergey Brin. For what, 2 decades? Those names were Google. But lately, they've kind of been ghosts, right? Just behind the scenes. Well, that's all changed. So the big question is, what on earth could drag these legendary founders back into the day-to-day grind?
You know, it's a question a lot of us have been asking ever since they officially stepped down back in 2019. I mean, did they really just walk away from the entire empire they literally built in a garage? It seems unlikely, right?
Well, the answer is a big, fat no. They didn't walk away. In fact, they are way more involved now than they've been in years. And the whole reason why, it all comes down to 2 little letters: AI.
Okay, so what does this return actually look like in practice? Because we're not just talking about them having a fancy title on the board of directors. No. This is a full-on, hands-on, get your hands dirty kind of comeback.
And this is the part that is just wild. The level of their re-engagement is what's so shocking. I mean, think about it. We're talking about Sergey Brin, a guy who could be on a yacht anywhere in the world, is instead in the office, personally writing code for Gemini, Google's big AI project. He's reportedly there almost every single day. And both him and Larry Page are constantly talking with the execs, steering the whole AI ship.
So, to really get why this is such a massive deal, we gotta rewind. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Way back to a time when if you said Google it, people would have just looked at you funny.
It all started at Stanford University. You've got these 2 PhD students meeting for the first time. Larry Page is checking out Stanford for grad school, and Sergey Brin gets the lovely job of showing him around campus. And the legend goes, they argued about pretty much everything. But somehow, that was the spark that ignited one of the most legendary partnerships in tech history.
So before Google was Google, it had a, let's say, interesting name: Backrub. Yep, Backrub. They were just working out of their dorm rooms building this totally new kind of search engine. And the name, as weird as it sounds, was actually super smart. It was all about its ability to analyze the backlinks pointing to a website to figure out how important it was.
The secret sauce, the real game changer, was this algorithm they called PageRank. And the idea was brilliant. It basically treated links on the internet just like citations in a science paper, right? If a super important, well-respected paper cites your work, that makes your work seem way more credible. PageRank just applied that exact same logic to the whole World Wide Web. And honestly, it changed everything.
And you absolutely cannot tell the Google origin story without mentioning this little tidbit. They didn't have a ton of cash, so what did they do? They built their very first server rack out of Lego bricks. It's just the perfect symbol of who they were. Resourceful, totally engineering-focused, and yeah, a little bit weird.
So what's the number that took this dorm room project and turned it into a real company? $100,000. Back in August '98, Andy Bechtolsheim, one of the co-founders of Sun Microsystems, saw what they were doing and he got it. He knew it was something special.
But here's the best part of the story. Bechtolsheim whips out his checkbook and writes them a check for $100,000 right then and there. And he makes it out to Google Inc. Just one tiny problem. Google Inc. didn't actually exist yet, so they had to scramble to officially create the company just so they could cash this life-changing check. All right, so now they've got the check, they've got the company legally sorted out, and they move into their very first office, a garage in Menlo Park, classic Silicon Valley. And from that moment, the race was on. This wasn't just some PhD project anymore. Now they were building an empire.
And their growth was just explosive. It's hard to even describe. In 2000, they launched AdWords, and boom, that became the money machine. In 2005, they bought Android, which is probably one of the smartest acquisitions in the history of tech. And then by 2015, the company had gotten so huge, so spread out into different areas, that they had to restructure the whole thing into a parent company, Alphabet, just to keep track of it all.
And through all that insane growth, they had this famous kind of unofficial motto: don't be evil. And it really captured the whole vibe of the company back then. It shaped their public image as this force for good, Just a company trying to organize all the world's information and always put the user first.
Okay, so that brings us all the way up to 2019. The founders make this huge announcement. They're stepping down from their day-to-day executive jobs at Alphabet. But, and this is a huge but, stepping down definitely did not mean letting go. So their official titles changed, right? They went from being the CEO and president, the guys in charge of everything day-to-day, to just being board members and, strategic advisors. On paper, it looked like they were taking a massive step back. But on paper, is the magic phrase here, because in reality, their actual power over the company stayed pretty much absolute. So, how'd they manage that?
It all comes down to the ownership structure. It's a little complicated, but basically, they have a special class of stock that gives them majority voting control, more than 51%. What that means is, even without the fancy titles, they get the final say on any big decision. It's a setup that lets them make these huge, risky, long-term bets, like going all in on AI, without having to worry about what Wall Street thinks every quarter. And in a race this intense, that's a massive advantage.
So you've got this ultimate control, and you combine that with a brand new, very urgent threat. And that's the cocktail that has pulled them right back into the thick of it to personally shape Google's future in the age of AI.
Think about it. For the first time in forever, really, Google's total dominance in search actually felt threatened. The sudden explosion of things like ChatGPT, all this generative AI stuff, it was a genuine code red moment for the company. And that was the fire alarm that pulled the founders out of their comfy advisory roles and right back onto the front lines.
And their impact was like immediate. Sergey Brin didn't just pop in to give some advice. The guy helped write the technical white paper for Gemini. People say their influence is the reason Google suddenly got way more aggressive and fast with its AI rollout. And this interest isn't just about Google either. Larry Page has quietly started his own new thing, a company called Dynamics that's all about using AI in manufacturing.
So you see, this isn't just them casually checking in on their old company. This is a deep, full-on recommitment. It's all driven by this powerful belief that AI is the next huge transformation in technology, and they are absolutely determined to make sure that Google is the one that leads the charge.
Which really leaves us with this one fascinating question, doesn't it? These two students who just wanted to organize the world's information, they're now back at the helm, trying to steer their massive creation through what might be its biggest challenge ever. So, will their return be enough? Can they secure Google's legacy for another generation? It feels like their second act is really just getting started.
Want to level up your digital skills and start earning online? I'm giving away free courses, certificates, diplomas, and a step-by-step guide to help you navigate the digital world like a pro. No experience needed. No hidden fees. Just start learning and start winning.